Hey guys, is anybody here? So, uh, yeah, if you're looking at my face here, I'm looking kind of ragged and tired, right? Man, I don't know. Tonight I wanted to do a live stream, and I've been trying to do one all week, and I'm telling you guys, it's really hard for me to do this during the week. Hey, Olga. So I guess today's topic is going to be short, probably short, mostly short. But I guess we'll talk about what do you guys want to see on Sunday. I think Sunday is a good day for me. You know, I get Saturday to rest, and then partially recovered, and then I have energy. I feel like I can talk better that way. I was just thinking about you know getting out of my home clothes back into my work clothes to do this, and I'm just like, oh man. But if you guys want to hear about the Icebox Killer, it's a really good story. They don't know who did it. Yeah, I don't know. I keep like it's just weird. Like I have this energy when I get home, and I think, but as soon as I like eat, then it's just gone. It's um well, I was thinking, well, maybe I could just do this without no face. Let's see, how do I do that? Yeah, see, I could just do this, and then you guys could just hear me, and then you don't have to see how tired I look, right? Um, I don't know. I figure, I'm not a Hollywood movie actor. I don't have makeup on. I just have me. I don't know. I enjoy doing lives. I like talking with you guys and stuff, but it doesn't look like there's that many people here. And I've been advertising for this thing for a couple days now. I thought if I did that, then maybe it would work better. But I think what I'm going to really have to do is, you know, give you like a teaser or something for Sunday. Maybe when you guys watch this replay, you'll be like, oh, maybe I should make a point to watch this. You know, I don't know. Um, let's see. Yeah. See, this is better too. It makes me feel like I don't know, just this thing. It's like my magic goggles or something. I feel like everything I say now is much better. But let me pull up some stuff on the Icebox Killer. Well, most of you guys have watched Dexter, right? The Icebox Killer um, is what they based Dexter's brother on in the first season. He's driving an ice cream truck or something. It's like a freezer truck, and a head rolls out of it right into Dexter's lap. Um, yeah, that is a good show. I've never watched the um, whatever they call the reboot or whatever, um, but I wanted to, and I started watching the trying to catch up, watching everything. I made it to probably like season 2 or 3, right when he feeds that detective to the alligator. I think is as far as I got, which is probably the first or second season. And I don't know. There's like 3 or 4 shows that I've watched a bunch, and I watch them like every few years. And it shows like Monk, Psych, sometimes Dexter, but Dexter's a little dark for a detective show. Yeah, I keep seeing the previews, and like the guy from Game of Thrones is in there, my favorite character. And I guess Dexter wakes up in heaven or hell or the afterlife, something. And, he goes, he's like, I don't know why I'm here, but I guess, I don't know, some kind of weird reboot. But I intend to watch it for sure one of these days. But I haven't watched the second half of Cobra Kai's final season yet, and that came out a couple months ago. I would have if they would have released the whole thing at once instead of breaking up the final season to make more money. And I haven't watched the final half of the last season of what is that show? Oh my God, why can't I? The guys with the triangles and the squares on their mask. What is that? What is that show called? Squid Games. Yeah. I haven't watched the last half of the final season of that either. Yeah, it's fine that they make money, but I don't know. We used to get 26 episodes. Now we get 12 and it's broken up into 3 or 4 parts. So it's really like an hour each time, an hour and a half of the episode. But I just want to check and make sure that this live is actually public. I think people just don't know who the Icebox Killer is or why it's a good story to know. Technically it's a conspiracy theory. They don't know what happened to the son of the mother and father got chopped up and put in the fridge. And then the son was a Navy officer. He was like a physicist, and he did in Navy intelligence, and he disappeared after the mother and father stopped returning phone calls to a nephew or something. And I mean, this case is 60 years old and they don't know what happened to him. Maybe he got murdered by the same person, but they didn't find him and the little meat packages inside the fridge, the ice boxes they called them back then. I'm just trying to pull up my actual YouTube channel, make sure that I've got this thing set up with a title and description and that it's public, but I can't seem to get there. Like the more I talk, the more I just randomly click the wrong thing. But yeah, it looks like it's live. There's just nobody watching, which is fine. You guys can watch the recap. I don't know that I'm going to be on here very long tonight. But in the summer of 1965, that's when this all happened. Houston, Texas. There was a dark secret. It would become one of Texas's most baffling unsolved mysteries. This story is just weird, but it's the story of a brilliant son, and the son vanished into thin air, just disappeared completely. And the question remains, what happened? Did he do it? This is a 60-year-old case and nobody knows an actual answer. Charles Rogers was no ordinary man. He was a nuclear physicist who spoke 7 languages. He was a Navy pilot with intelligence connections. By the age 43, this genius had lived like a ghost in his own home with his parents. He communicated with his mother through notes that he slipped under the door. For 5 years, nobody had seen his face. And, maybe it's just one of those stories about a brilliant mind that collapses on itself and he becomes a monster. But I don't know. I've got a lot of information I can share on this guy. And I've been trying to convince one of my friends to come on and actually talk about this because she's one of the few people who actually think this guy didn't do it, which I think is odd because it seems most likely like he did do it. But, a lot of people think they want to do YouTube and then they don't. It's not something everyone can do, But today I was reading some information and I really got to get an actual computer monitor. This TV is just too big. I can't see anything on my screen. But I made a post about this for the members only, kind of asking you guys, what do you guys want to talk about? You want to talk about a new case that you don't know about, or do you want to talk about Chris Watts? I know everybody's going to say they want to talk about Chris Watts. I kind of hope that one day people will say, hey, I'd rather talk about this other case, but they don't. And that's okay. So the thing that I've been looking up with Chris Watts is the woman who wrote the book Letters from Christopher, the one that was plagiarized, the one that got pulled off of the market. That woman copied huge pieces of the book from somebody else's book and put it in her book, and then said she only copied a few lines. And I think there was several people who've over the years picked it apart line by line, showing all the parts that was plagiarized. And there's I found a quote from the original author, Anne K. Howard. She wrote a book called His Garden. It was about a serial killer named William Devon Howell. Yeah. And then this woman, what is her name? Sherilyn Cadle. She cut pieces of this book out and put it in her own. And I'm wondering, why would you even do that? And why would you think no one would notice? That's another thing. But, well, oh man. So here, let me get back where I can see the chat, see if we got some more people in here. I really got it. One of these days, I'm going to get this thing set up like a real studio, maybe. There we go. Finally. Yeah. Hey guys. Hey, JLO. I've been talking to several people from Australia, and I think it's pretty cool. There's this channel that I've been trying to convince to come on my show. This guy from Australia, he's just he seems cool, and I don't know. He's new to YouTube, but apparently I'm not the only one, because he told me that he's gotten so many requests that he doesn't have time to make his own videos, let alone to go on other people's channels. But that's cool. Like I remember the first time somebody like noticed my channel. It felt really good. So I always encourage people whenever they start out doing YouTube, because it's hard. You don't realize how hard it is until you do it. But I'm looking for the quote from the author, because it sounded like she was heartbroken, kind of. She was like, I can't believe. I don't want to say it without actually finding the quote, and it's in this, but the only way I can see it is if I close everything out, and it's weird. I'm probably not going to be able to find it. But yeah, it wasn't just a few lines of accidental oversight. It wasn't just a failure to quote. She was representing. She was representing this other killer's voice as Chris Watts in the book, and it's just crazy. I could tell you, JLO, whenever I first started out, I was a faceless channel. I didn't want to put my face on here. I didn't even want to use my real voice. I remember the first time I tried to record something with my own voice, and I couldn't even listen to myself. And, I showed one of my cousins, and they're like, hey, you actually got a voice for this, man. That sounds really cool. And I didn't believe them. And so I found out about AI, and then I would just like write out my, 2 or 3 pages, and then I would drop it into an AI. And some of them some of them are just easier to use than others, but they basically all do the same thing, and they all have the same kind of quirks. It's not perfect, but comparatively, like a 10-minute thing that you record with your voice, you're going to have like almost 45 minutes of like stuff that you recorded, and then you got to cut out all the mistakes, and it takes a long time. With an AI voice, you do the same thing. It's different. You're fixing the AI voice. And it takes time. You drop everything in there, and then you have to go back through and figure out what words it didn't pronounce right, and then try to phonetically spell those things so that it can, and it doesn't always work. And it takes, maybe 2 or 3 hours versus 4 to 6 hours. It saves you time. It's just, I don't know. Now that I've been using my voice, I'm like, I prefer having control like that over what I'm saying, how I'm saying it, but I'm still looking for this quote. Here it is. Anne K. Howard stated publicly, I couldn't believe she clipped and pasted my voice and my words and my thoughts and presented them to the public as if they came from her mind. It really did feel like a direct violation. That's just insane, because I know exactly what she would feel like if like somebody like copied something I wrote and then said it was theirs and then sold it. I'd be pretty ticked off. Yeah, I'm glad you guys like my voice. I think it's okay. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's things I can do to get better. I'm always trying to improve. Like every time I do one of these things, I try to do something better. Like today, I don't really have a topic to talk about, and I'm already about 20 minutes in, and it's mostly just coming, it's mostly just nonsense. I prefer to plan things. I prefer to have a script. I have, like I get nervous and I forget what I'm going to say. If I have like it written out in a format that, sounds like me and it feels like me, and I just read it once or twice and then I read it live, or record it, it's just way easier for me. I feel more comfortable. Like some people are just really good conversationalists, and I've never been that at all, ever. I'm the guy that listens to everyone else, laughs at the joke, and then every once in a while chimes in with something interesting. That's been basically the story of my life. But um, this woman, Carol, what is? I always forget her first name. Carolyn or no? Uh, Her last name's Cadle, but I always forget her first name. Sherilyn. That's just a hard name for me. I know several Cheryls, but I know more Carolyns. I'm glad you feel that way. I like to think of myself as a friend from Alaska. I was gonna post something about the tsunami the other day, but I just thought, at work, a bunch of people got texts saying, there's a tsunami warning, evacuate, but it was a incorrect message, and um, I don't know. What I read was there was actually a tsunami, far away from here, and uh, some places did get evacuated, but then there was only like a 3-inch tsunami, like that big or so. And I haven't researched it that much, but there was a pretty massive earthquake. And Alaska is so huge that there could be a massive earthquake and it doesn't affect anybody because there's no buildings there. They had a big earthquake here in Anchorage. I wasn't here, but um, you can actually drive by and see all of the, like, there's damaged buildings. Like it was a pretty devastating earthquake, and it could happen again. I get I get alerts on my phone about earthquakes, but I was getting them every day until I like made them like they have to be at least a 4 or higher before I get an alert because there's like earthquakes every day here. But yeah, Sherilyn Cadle has a new book, and I don't know if people would buy it because I think people will buy it, but not because they believe what she's going to say. They just want to see what she's going to say, what she's going to lie about. Because after the plagiarism thing, how can you trust her? Um, I write a lot too, but I don't think I present it as 100% fact. Everything I write is based on facts, based on real people, based on facts and whatnot. But I speculate a lot, and I build like, my opinions are based off of how I view, basic human nature, I guess. And I feel like I'm pretty good at it most of the time, but I'm not ever going to say that I am 100% right. Um, I was thinking about it today. Whenever I find information on the Chris Watts case specifically, like I already know that half of the information that I see is going to be wrong. It's going to be lies, basically. And then I was thinking a little harder about it. And I think at least half of the things that I believe are probably not accurate either. And it's kind of scary because what happens when people present speculation as facts? I mean, I like to say that, I think this could have happened. And I think that's enough to tell people that this may or may not have happened. It's a likely scenario. I have written several scenarios on Nicole Kessinger. What did she talk about during that 111-minute phone call? We don't know. I mean, it could literally be anything, and people are talking about it. I don't know. It's an interesting topic to wonder about. Um, I think even if they came out and like told us exactly what had happened, I don't know if anybody would believe it. Um, but I have the book Letters from Chris, and I actually read some stuff from it in my early days on Deliberately Deadly, my first true crime channel. Um, that channel didn't get monetized, by the way. They I had like 2,000 subscribers. I haven't worked on it in a long time, but it was my original YouTube channel from 2007. I hadn't done anything on it since like 2012. And I thought, well, I would rather have my old YouTube channel to, be my channel that gets monetized because it'll look like, hey, well, my channel's not new, it's old. Look, it's been around since the beginning of YouTube. And but it didn't get monetized. YouTube told me that I was violating policies. And the funny thing is that I'm talking about all the same stuff I've been talking about now. Um, the only thing I can think of that maybe violated the policy was the name, Deliberately Deadly, you know? Um, I don't know. My thumbnails used to show like, bloody daggers, like graphic stuff, like not like, they're like graphic art, not graphic like real knives, real people getting stabbed. But I used to use those kind of animations in my thumbnails. I changed all of that. I tried to reapply and they said, no, you're violating something. So I don't know. I think now I would have to, if I wanted to use that channel, I'd have to start completely over and try to get monetized again. And getting that first 4,000 watch hours is really hard. Um, but I thought Deliberately Deadly was a good name because it kind of plays on the word deliberate and deliberately. If we're talking about true crime, we're kind of deliberating, and deliberately is kind of, I don't know. It wasn't like, I don't know. That's just how I kind of thought of it. But well, let's see. What were you guys saying here? The problem with the call was that it had been made. Oh yeah, we're talking about the call, the 111-minute phone call. So the problem with the call was that it has been made a big mystery, which catches everyone's attention. How can NK remember so many things and not remember such a long phone call? That's exactly why. It's a mystery, and that makes it more mysterious, right? I don't know. I was thinking about doing a book. I mean, I've got enough information to do a book, but I'm afraid that I'm going to get looked at like this Sherilyn person. I don't think anybody likes her. That book was really good until I found out it was plagiarized and not her words. I don't even know if the things that she supposedly got from Chris are real, the letters or anything. Because there was pieces of that stuff that was just intense, like the way he described them closing the door and stuff. I think that was some of the plagiarized stuff from the other book, which if you haven't read, it is pretty good. What was that title again? His Garden. It's about William Devenhow. If you like reading true crime, you should check it out. But yeah, I don't know if I could. I've got so much written about Chris Watts that I've got like this massive thing, and I just feel like I should do something with it, but I don't know how to present it to people so that I don't get that same kind of reaction. Well, this is fake. Well, it can't be real if we can't actually talk to these people. But what is real is the things that people are talking about. When people talk about Chris Watts Island, it kind of like drives me crazy. What is Chris Watts Island to you guys? To me, it's just a massive mountain of speculation and conspiracy theories. I think maybe, 1% of everything in Watts Island is actual factual information. I don't know if Sherilyn has written other books. Well, I don't want to upset people. At least if I'm going to upset people, I would like to minimize that. I am a person too. Um, I don't set out to hurt people's feelings. I don't set out to like traumatize people or anything like that, and I definitely don't set out to, make the victim seem like the bad guy. There are a few cases that I do have a little bit less sympathy for, but even those people, like if you're a victim, you shouldn't have been murdered, period. And I my heart goes out to their families because, if you are a bad person, you can become better, right? If you're alive to try, maybe you don't even know you're like a jerk. Takes a couple like blow ups before you finally realize that you have a problem, and then you go get help. You know, um, but I don't know. I've had people on my channel too in the comments are like, "Oh my god, you're like a joke. Everything you say is a joke. Your word salad is um, a pile of vomit or something." I don't know. But what's funny about that comment? I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was something word salad. That was whenever I posted that video on Chris Watts, The Coward's Life. And that video got like, 50,000 views like the first day. you know, so that word salad was the beginning of me realizing that I actually can write okay. Maybe I'm not a professional writer, but, I took a leap with that video, with that script. I was like, I was struggling to write more Chris Watts. And, what I did was internalize the situation and kind of thought about it as a person, not as, the crime. I thought about it as build up and what you would be experiencing, before and after and, all of that. And it worked out. I got a lot of views. People liked it. I did get probably 2 or 3% of the comments are negative, which I thought was pretty good. But it only takes one bad comment to kind of ruin it all for you as a content creator. So I try to avoid reading those. But yeah, so Sunday I'm thinking I could talk about this because Chris Watts, this new book, um, and we could talk about the possibility that what if we don't know everything about the Chris Watts case? What if we really are being misled with how Chris and Nicole met? What if she really was this stalker? What if she was the predator? I know I talked to Olga about this, and she thought it was an interesting kind of thing. And I think that's what I'm leaning towards for Sunday. Um, I think we can talk about that new book. Maybe I can. I can't buy it. I think it was like listed for like $89 or something. There's no way I'm gonna buy anything that costs more than like $5. But I think we could talk about it. We could talk about what it would mean if it was true, or if it is a lie, and it could be. I mean, what does it mean? Um, it just adds to this pile of conspiracy theories, and this case is just never going to go away because there's just always going to be someone, stretching out the truth just a little bit farther so that that mountain, that island keeps. Pretty soon, it's not just a island; it's a country, and then maybe it becomes a whole continent. I don't know. But yeah, what I was looking into today was, the 2017 comment about how she would Googled Shanann in 2017, and what I found out was that that was somebody had stated that it was a typo, and it was a woman. I can't remember her name. I have it written down somewhere, but after that, DA Rourke actually said that no, we got that information from her phone, but there was nothing else said about it. So I don't know what to believe. It sounds likely that it could be a typo, but in this new book, they're saying that Chris and Nicole met at the gym whenever Chris's in-laws moved into the basement to help with the kids while Shanann recovered from neck surgery. And because of that, the basement was Chris's gym. He couldn't go exercise down there anymore, so he had to go start a gym membership, and that's where he met Nicole. And that was in 2017. There's stuff about how Nicole actually introduced herself to Shanann and things like that that is nowhere in any of the evidence, the interviews or the story that they investigated and kind of corroborated. I don't know if you can say it's 100% true, but I think both Chris and Nicole said they met at work to the detectives. I mean, that's something that could be true. It really could have happened like that, or it could have just been something they said, together that they both lied about because maybe they didn't want to hide. I mean, they didn't want people to know how long they had known each other. I don't know. I know that Nicole Kessinger is hiding for a reason, and I don't think it's just for, internet backlash. I don't know why she's hiding. I think if she wouldn't have hid, I did that live talking about her and Amber Frey, and I kind of showed the difference between somebody who was, working directly with the detectives. Like she initially was seen as the bad guy, but people now, they admire her and the strength that it took for her to stand up and say what she said, despite what happened to her. If Nicole did that, we would probably be having a different conversation about this case right now. She deleted everything on her phone. I mean, that's a big red flag. Like the detective even says, "Oh my God, you deleted everything. That doesn't look good for you." And then, he's like, "But I get it. I understand. It's okay. You deleted everything." It wasn't okay. It was a big red flag. And anybody else who had done that, had somebody not confessed, they would have found as much information on there as they could. They would have found something that didn't get like completely restored, and they would have probably picked it apart and questioning her until they figured out what it was. But they didn't do that. And it just makes you wonder, is it so simple as the money? They didn't need to investigate it because they had a confession. They didn't want to investigate it because it cost too much money. These detectives aren't cheap. They get paid hourly. And if they're talking to Nicole Kessinger, they're not interviewing somebody else who's committed a crime or a witness to a crime that they can, handle and resolve, make some sort of restitution, make the public safer. I mean, would they want to waste their time questioning Nicole Kessinger if they got a confession with Chris Watts already? I don't know. If I was the detective, I think that mystery in my mind, well, why did she delete everything? I would just have to know. Even if, it took me an extra, like if I had to clock out and work on it after work, I would probably have to find out. But yeah. So I don't know if you guys, well, I know Olga has read some of my book stuff, but I think I don't even know if I would call it, I mean, the word count wise, it's a book, but I don't think it's actually a book. I think it's just a bunch of speculation on a story that we only know the bare bones of. We know the timeline fairly well. We know, I mean, as far as the day of the murder, we know that. We don't know what time it happened exactly. We know that what time Shanann got home. We know how much time Chris and her spent apart, um, things like that. But there's a lot of things we don't know. You know, yeah, JLo, it could have been her dad told her to delete everything. I mean, if he did, it was not a good move because it instantly makes you look guilty of something. But um, I remember when I first saw the dad in the interviews, and everybody was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe she has her dad in there." Well, she wasn't being formally questioned, so um, I guess that's why they allowed it. But I think they should have been formally questioning her. Olga says, I know some people been questioned in 2004 why they've been deleting some messages, but it was time when messages were not super popular. That's an interesting thing that could be something I could look into, those early years of text messaging, back whenever it first started. If you were around for that, that was an interesting time. You know, I think of it now and I can't remember not texting, but it's way more convenient, even if it takes like 3 minutes to send a sentence, when it takes like 10 seconds to say like a paragraph over the phone. It's just way more convenient. You don't have to respond right away. You know, you can read the message and then respond whenever you feel like it. I mean, I actually remember these little devices you could buy just to text. It was like a Yahoo Messenger like device. Um, this is back before, like, I've got the what is it, Nightbot bot, but before Nightbot, they had chat room bots that used to drive everybody crazy, um, and they were usually some sort of scam, or telling you to go buy this or click this, or hey, check this out, I got this here, and it would send you to an ad page. But the reason why those happened was because they actually get people to click on them, and when people click on them on stuff and they look at things, they buy them. And it really is sad that everything we see is what we buy. Everything's an advertisement nowadays. But yeah, beepers. I had a beeper and I thought it was really cool. But I really wish I didn't, because you would actually have to walk across the street or walk down 3 or 4 blocks, find a payphone to respond to these things. Um, I don't know. It was weird. The pagers were just weird. But yeah, I guess so I'm gonna probably hop off of here for tonight. But you guys just think about what you want to talk about on Sunday. If I can do a live, I know tomorrow's already Friday. If I could do one Friday or Saturday, I will. But um, I am trying to get where I can like carve out some time and actually do something like this um, during the week, even if it's late. Um, but it's really hard. Like once I get home and I eat something, I just I don't know. Once you relax, it's hard. It's hard to like get dressed up again and like put your smiling face on again, and try to dive into something. Um, but if you guys want to know about the Icebox Killer, let me know. But if you want to find out more about what I think about the Chris Watts case, we can do that too. This I kind of got to figure out a way to see this book, or at least some of the book, and see what's in there, because it's really I'm really surprised that people are going to buy it. But they're probably like me and just curious. Well, what is she saying this time? What's going to happen in this book? Hey, that's awesome, Jolo. You got my time zone on here. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock now, and Here, let me see if you can see out the window. It is still daylight. Those are my big blackout curtains to help me sleep. Uh, it's 9 o'clock, but right now it actually feels like 5 o'clock because I can see the window. I actually have to set a timer to let me know to close the blinds so that I can, wind down and go to sleep at a reasonable time. It's like the opposite of everywhere else. You get tired at like 8 o'clock and you're like, oh man, I got to stay up at least till 10:30. But here it's the opposite. Like 1 minute it's like 8:30, the next minute it's like 12:30, and it still looks like that. Oh man, it's already almost the end of Friday. It's almost the weekend there in Australia. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Um yeah, I had a rough week. Um I wasn't feeling good the beginning of the week. I'm feeling better now, but I'm glad the week is over. I need like a vacation. I just can't afford one. But yeah, so just let me know what you guys want to talk about on Sunday. I'm thinking what I kind of described is what I'm probably going to talk about, the book, um, uh, or Sherilyn Cadle's book, her new book, the one that says Chris says that they met in 2017 for sure, and talk about how or if we can believe that. Um, COVID is horrible. I had it. I didn't get it initially, but I got it like the following year, and everybody was like, "Oh, when you get it, it's just like a regular cold." But I was like drenched in sweat for like 7 days. I couldn't breathe. If I walked like more than 10 steps, I would get lightheaded. Um, I don't know. It took me like almost 2 weeks to recover. I think as COVID's kind of mutated down, it's not as horrible as it used to be, but um, it could be, it could eventually just get worse. Um, but I've gotten all of the boosters. I think I got a booster for COVID in like maybe February or something, but I hate COVID. Like I can still remember how I felt when I got it that one time, and it's just horrible. And I'm sorry for anybody who has to feel that crappy feeling. The flu is bad enough, especially if it's a flu that gives you a fever for 3 days. Those are horrible. But I think I hate the like respiratory infections that last like 2 or 3 weeks. But I do like the day that one day you just wake up and like that crusty feeling is gone and you're just back to being good. But anyways, guys, thanks for being here. I'm glad you were able to hang out, and I'll see you in the next video.